Good day, Badgers. One Angry Pagan here. So this will be the first of two videos, hopefully, today. Reaction videos. I was looking to do different videos. That was a different video today, but no. So about 4 hours ago, and right now it's 3:20 in the afternoon. Prime Minister Kier Starmer, UK Prime Minister Kier Starmer, and Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Støre. Yes, I said that right. Fuck off. Are holding a news conference in Norway for a new green energy deal. Okay, let's have a look.
Of the Norwegian-UK strategic partnership, followed by short remarks from the two leaders. Then we will open up for a few questions.
I do like the Norwegian accent.
And with that, I give the floor to the Prime Ministers of the United Kingdom and Norway to sign the joint declaration.
I wonder what this is about then. Because I don't know. Does Norway deal with geothermal energy? Norwegian geothermal energy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Fucking hell. 2,400 new geothermal heat pump systems installed during 2020. Interesting. Well, I'd like to see if the UK is going to work with them on that or something. Bit silent. Just signing the papers. Passing it, passing over the different documents. Yeah, shaking hands. And they looked a little bit awkward. Although they do look somewhat similar as well, I've got to admit. And I understand that Jonas
So the first speaker will be the Norwegian Prime Minister, Jonas
of the Norwegian Labour Party. So this is, you know, UK and Norwegian Labour
signing
parties.
Signing this declaration is updating and sharpening the focus of
Fucking adverts. Fucking PayPal this time. Yeah. Come on.
Great privilege to welcome my friend and partner and colleague Kier Starmer from...
Friend, partner and colleague. Okay.
The UK, taking time out of a busy schedule to come and visit. And I believe what we have done today is actually, in this turbulent time in Europe with the war in Ukraine, with instability around us, but there is a very strong foundation of cooperation between our countries on security inside NATO, but also bilaterally across the North Sea. We will be moving on to Estonia this afternoon to meet with colleagues.
Okay. It's like the feed when this was live was a little bit glitchy.
In the JEF context.
Oh, we're talking about JEF as well, the JEF, the Joint Expeditionary Forces. So that's the Nordic countries, including Finland. I'm not... any of my Finnish viewers, do you guys consider yourselves to be Nordic? Because I have heard otherwise.
Which is a cooperation on security between regional countries here in the north of Europe. The second dimension, taking boat from Håkonsvern out here to Øygarden, is to focus on something which a few years ago may have looked like science fiction. And that's why it's real, because it's happening. Carbon capture and storage has...
Oh, come on! CCS! I'm going to have to do my own dedicated video on CCS, I think. I know Graham Hughes from Politics Social has kicked off about this. He thinks it's pseudoscience. No, it's not pseudoscience, it's just bad science. My main worry with CCS, because they want to stick it under the sea, under the North Sea and stuff, my biggest problem with this is ocean acidification. Our oceans are already acidifying, and as someone who's majorly into paleontology, someone who's spent pretty much all their life studying paleontology, the effects on the effects of ocean acidification throughout the paleontological record are easily shown. Much of the mass extinctions, the marine mass extinctions, going back through history, are at least in part to ocean acidification. And now they want to fucking add to it. That's what does my head in. Now, again, I said before that there is some legitimacy to using this, but in a very limited way. Concrete production is the only real thing this is good for. Now, if this is just a bit start, like taking a bigger picture view, coming off my last video, one of my last videos, taking a bigger picture view, I would say that this is a beginning of partnership between us and Norway / the other Nordic countries when it comes to green energy. What I don't want this to be is Starmer going, oh, well, look, we're going into we're going into the CCS, carbon capture and storage, and we're going to go heavily in on this. No, I don't want to see that. If this is just the beginning, then cool. But if this is a be-all and end-all, then I am going to be fucking pissed.
To be part of the solution to reach our climate ambitions, while dealing with industry, with development, and securing jobs. So I'm very pleased to be able to...
Okay. Phil from a different bias has said this one, securing jobs. Now, okay, I understand that CCS is, carbon capture and storage is, bringing jobs. But surely there are better ways to get jobs rather than using something that could potentially increase the acidification of our oceans, as I've noted, which has been a major causal factor in the mass extinctions of marine life going back hundreds of millions of years. And now we're going to do it on purpose. This is my main issue with carbon capture and storage. It sounds great, but if they're planning to stick it in this under the seabeds, how do you think ocean acidification happens? One of the ways is with the melting of, with the rising water temperatures. You get areas, the north and southern, the polar areas of the world, which are almost frozen, even going down, into the seabed, but then they melt. So it releases both methane and carbon dioxide get released from the seabeds when a global warming event happens. This is seen many times over the paleontological record. Now, don't get again. There's the job. I get this jobs aspect, but to me, I will agree with Graham here in saying that this is, it's greenwashing, essentially. But I will also say, again, that I really hope this is just a small part of a much bigger and evolving relationship with Norway and the other Scandi/European countries when it comes to energy.
Show my friend what has happened here, and
it's bloody glitchy.
So moving ahead with CCS, and that
Why?
expertise and industrial skills are part of that endeavor. But on the bottom of
okay, so it's coming across as if they're treating the carbon capture and storage as if it's a transitional part, as if it's part of the transition. Okay, I'm gonna have to do my own dedicated video on CCS, on carbon capture and storage, to really go into into the weeds with it.
All of this.
Although there are likely better YouTube, like really good YouTube channels that explain this for you. I'll likely go into it. I'm probably going to go into it myself at some point.
We have also had time to address the Premier League and how things are unfolding in the Norwegian
Looks like Jonas Støre is also a footy fan.
And that's part of the broad, also cultural relationship between our two countries. So, Kier, welcome.
Broad cultural relationship.
Jonas, my friend and colleague, it's very, very good to be here to sign this declaration today, which, as you say, symbolises, I think, the relationship between our two countries.
The sound
forged in harsh circumstances.
The sound keeps fading out for some reason. I think it's the Russians.
But the closeness of our relationship, the trust that we have between us is palpable in everything that we do together. So this now takes it on to the next chapter. Whether that's...
So why don't we move ourselves into being more like Norway then?
In relation to defence, where we've worked together so very closely for so many years.
JEF?
Training, I think, now together for over 50 years, and we'll be doing that again
50 years. Fucking hell, that's longer than the JEF.
Alike when it comes to defence challenges, of which there are very many at the moment. But also in the field of energy, where, again, we have worked for many decades together, first with oil and gas, and now as we go towards renewables, which is why it was very good to come out here and see for myself this.
I am sure Norway has a massive thing with geothermal energy. Is there not a deal that we can do with them to do with that instead?
A plant here and carbon capture, and of course we are doing similar work on the UK side. So really excellent to cement that relationship even further, to take it forward.
Was that a oblique reference? Concrete. Yes, I know cement is not concrete. That's why I said oblique reference.
In an enhanced way to the next chapter. We discussed today our NATO commitments, and of course that's extremely important in relation to Norway, the eyes and ears in many respects for NATO, and a very important part of the world for global.
Really wish this didn't. The sound is
both those fronts to be here, taking them forward with this declaration. We can continue our discussions about Martin Odegaard, which took quite a deal of last night. But again, the closest of our relationships, for me, one of the best Arsenal players we've ever had. So thank you very much for that. On top of the defence,
I don't know,
and the energy collaboration that we have. Thank you.
Great.
So now we will open up for questions. And the first questions go to the daily newspaper from Norway, VG.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for doing this. My question would be, on your way to the JEF meeting in Tallinn, there is a...
Oh, for crying out loud, adverts. No, I'm not going for a YouTube Premium. Fuck off, I'm just not doing it. Yeah, why don't we do a deal with them on geothermal energy? Export that energy. I don't understand.
And leaders lately about the security assurances to Ukraine and what should possibly happen if there is a ceasefire or a future negotiated agreement. So I would like you to update us on that, and I would also like to ask both of you whether it's in your plans for your governments to participate in a possible future force to maintain stability in Ukraine. Thank you.
Well, I think we share the view that this war should end. It could end easily if Russia stops its aggression and pulls out of
it could end if Europe gained a fucking spine.
Is that there should be no negotiations without Ukraine, and Ukraine has to be there to define the circumstances for such negotiations. Yep. But it is a war with terrible human costs and destruction, which really should end as soon as possible. So we will support Ukraine on its way to deciding that moment when that would be appropriate. We have signed previously initial security guarantees. It was done by the G7 countries and also the Nordic countries. And we have concluded agreements, bilateral agreements with Ukraine, which for Norway's case is running alongside the Nansen package and the Nansen support, military and civilian, to Ukraine. I would not anticipate what the substance may be of such security guarantees, were there to be negotiations on ceasefire or anything of that sort. And no decision has been made on the Norwegian side to commit Norwegian troops in that case.
Let me begin by agreeing with Jonas, particularly about the question of how this comes to an end. Russia could stop this today, because it's Russian aggression that is causing this conflict. So we need to remember that.
I don't give a fuck. Those of you that are so far left that you still think Russia is the USSR, wake the fuck up. Russia's being ruled by a right-wing fascist.
Go forward. It is important, if there are to be negotiations, and we don't know for sure whether there will or there won't be, that Ukraine is put in the strongest possible position, and that's been the consistent position of both our countries and our allies for a long time now, and that's why this is the time to double down on our capabilities, double down on our financial commitments and the sanctions, of course, as well, and to make sure that the training we're doing, and we're both providing a lot of
tallest
training
fella.
on a joint basis together.
Starmer,
Our two countries
he's
very, very strong in our joint
Støre.
support for Ukraine. But it's important that we put Ukraine in the strongest possible position if there are to be negotiations, and even if there aren't to be negotiations. Obviously, again, I don't know what the negotiations might lead to, if there are negotiations, or what security guarantees might have to be put in place, but they're clearly part and parcel of the discussions that are going on in relation to any possible negotiations. But it would be a big mistake, in my view, to take our eye off the ball and not ensure that Ukraine is in the strongest possible position, which is why we've been doubling down on this at many of the international meetings we've had with our allies to discuss this. And Jonas and I had the opportunity both last night and again this morning to discuss
have fucking word with Germany then.
Our joint approach in relation to this this particular challenge.
So the next question goes to the Norwegian broadcaster TV2.
So this is for Starmer. So this is a safety questions as well, but we all...
She can't just call him Starmer. I can't believe it. She just called him Starmer. Starmer. Fucking Starmer. That's hilarious.
Seen the news this weekend about Prince Andrew and his allegedly contact with the Chinese spy. Have you been in contact with Buckingham Palace and Prince Andrew about this?
Okay, that was a bit mean of me then. She's struggling with some of the English words.
Matter, and are we in Europe too easy on Chinese espionage?
Well, in relation to any discussions with Buckingham Palace, there's a long-standing convention in the United Kingdom that's never spoken about. But of course, we are concerned about the challenge that China poses. Our approach, as you know, I had a meeting with the President just a few weeks ago now. Our approach is one of engagement, of cooperating where we need to cooperate, particularly, for example, on issues like climate change, to challenge where we must and where we should, particularly on issues like human rights, and to compete when it comes to trade. So that's the strategic approach that we've set out as a UK government. I'm not going to comment on Buckingham Palace or the royal side, because as I said, by convention, the government never does.
Yeah.
The next question goes to GB News from UK. Catherine Forster for UK Broadcasters. You're talking about security. Carbon capture is controversial and expensive. How is what you're doing here today going to help people back home? And also, still on security, given these Chinese spy revelations, is seeking closer ties...
Again, like...
Let me address the first part of your question.
it glitched out again. Again, like, he's not, like, the second question, he just answered, like, when it comes to the royal family, like, you know, we don't comment, really. And, in terms of China, like, he's just going to give the same answer. That's a stupid question.
First.
Well, but first one wasn't. First one was a decent question. Second one, that was stupid.
Which is the huge benefit there is to the UK of our joint work. For many decades, we've worked together on oil and gas, which has provided us with energy for...
I have to say, carbon capture and storage is not green energy. It's not... Is it producing energy? No, then why? Then how is it green energy? So, like, sorry.
A very long time now. A transition to renewables is on its way. Carbon capture is part of that. And so, again, it's really important that we're here talking strategically.
It really doesn't have to be. But, okay, fine. If you're going down on this, then they're saying it's a part of it. So, hopefully, I was right at the beginning. And this is just the start of an evolving deal when it comes to, when it comes to green energy. Or evolving partnership, I should say.
Because every time I'm working internationally, I am focused on what the delivery is back at home. You will have seen that there was an investment of £4 billion announced last week.
Well, this time it's the fucking adverts again.
In jobs across the country, Teesside in particular. So I'm really pleased to be able to continue that strategic work. I'm very pleased to be able to ensure that everybody heard that announcement of last week, £4 billion, which will be measurable in jobs back in the UK. Good, well-paid jobs for many years to come. Carbon capture has a potential for decades and decades.
I'm gonna have to do an in-depth video digging into CCS. But again, as I've already stated, I have serious problems with CCS.
Of work, and we're probably two of the best placed countries in the world in relation to this cutting edge technology, this approach. So this is very much important strategically, very much important internationally, but also of huge importance to very many people back at home who will be benefiting from those well-paid skilled jobs, which is consistent with my approach of saying we'll have clean power by 2030, we'll be a mission-led government, and we want to ensure that everybody in the UK feels better off and secure and safe in a way they haven't done for the last 14 years.
You haven't explained how CCS is supposed to do that, though.
In relation to China, our approach is the approach I've just set out, which is important. It's important to engage. Of course, we have to challenge where we must, but it's better to engage to challenge than to stay aside, as it were. Important to cooperate where we can on issues like
really
climate
not
change,
a good politician,
that cooperation. So I'm very pleased with the engagement and the progress that we've made. Thank you.
If I can just add, our motivation is cutting emission, creating jobs, and this is really about that. And you will not find one scientist or political scientist addressing climate change and reaching our targets who can point to that without CCS. Because
bullshit. There are a bunch of scientists. Hang on. Scientists who are against carbon capture and storage. Many scientists are concerned about CCS and its role in climate change, including CCS is not a panacea. Some scientists believe that CCS should only be used when other options are limited, such as cement kilns or glass production. I didn't know about glass, but again, this shows how limited this is. Or they also say that CCS is difficult to implement and that focusing on it instead of clean solutions could slow the transition to net zero. Greenwashing. CCS projects perpetuate fossil fuel use. In the US, many CCS projects are actually enhanced recovery projects to keep oil and gas flowing. This means these projects actually increase the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. CCS are risky. Pose danger to public if the pipes carrying the captured, if there are leaks from the pipes carrying the captured carbon. Projects are not permanent. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, says that CO2 storage is not necessarily permanent. It's not. And the projects are not cost effective. The European Science Academies warn that taxpayers' money could go to technologies that don't deliver on their promises. Let me just names of scientists. Right, so let's have a look. Scientists and experts have raised concern about CCS projects, including Dr. Andrew Boswell, Charles Harvey, and Kurt House. Okay, dissident magazines are like, yeah. Research by Mark Z. Jacobson. So, yeah, sorry, Mr. Støre. No, that was bullshit.
Because it can come from gas, which is making, a prolongation of gas as an energy source possible. That's important for jobs. But also the hard-to-abate industries like cement, for example. So if you're going to bring that down, this is the only way to do it. So this is a front runner. And what we are seeing now, if we can succeed in doing this, and you can succeed and we can succeed together, we may have turnkey concepts that can be applicable in a large context. And that's good for jobs, it's good for industry, and it's good for our kind of technological standing.
So the last question today goes to PA.
Hi, Claudia Savage from PA. So in your discussions today about Ukraine, did you talk about the potentialities of a Trump presidency and what that will mean? The Kremlin welcomed today Trump's criticism of the use of US-backed weapons inside Russian territory. So if the US is to backtrack on that, will Storm Shadow missiles still be permitted for use by the UK? And just secondly, when will the powers from the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme come into effect? Has the delay on that enabled this Chinese spy situation? And given that it's not the first time a Chinese spy has been found to be quite high up in British life, is this a sign that the UK is the weakest link in the Five Eyes Alliance?
Well, in relation to the scheme, let me deal with that straight away, because we've been...
Not necessarily, I would say. Not necessarily. That's not to say that she's not wrong, but not necessarily.
Working on it from day one in government, and there'll be an update coming shortly, so you'll have more information in relation to that. In relation to President-elect Trump, we have both spoken to President Trump. I had dinner with him in New York a few months ago for a couple of hours, where we discussed a number of things, including Ukraine. Jonas has spoken to him on the telephone, and yes, of course, we've discussed the strategic approach that we should take as allies. The allies have stood together behind Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. We continue to do so. But as you'd expect, we've been talking to all of our allies in relation to that. And there is this consensus that we must call it out for what it is, Russian aggression, and that we must put Ukraine in the strongest possible position. But yes, I think we both discussed this with President-elect Trump, as you would have expected.
Completely dodging the Storm Shadow question.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think my perception was that the president was in a listening mode. He's been calling many colleagues in Europe, trying to find out, the thinking here, and appreciating that this is complex. I think that's the right point of departure. And our message is that, you know, the sooner the Americans can define their strategy and their approach, the better, because that will bring some clarity to the approach on how this war can end.
On that note, we need to
Thank you very
wrap up
much.
this press
Thank you.
conference. Thank you.
Okay. So, that was a bit naff at the end, to be fair. So, what are my thoughts on this? I was hoping for more than this. I really hope this is just the start of the start of an evolving relationship when it comes to green energy with Norway and the other Scandinavian countries and European countries. Because CCS, I've got major issues with it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm a bit about this one. Let's just hope to the gods that this is only a small part of an evolving relationship when it comes to green energy. Okay. Otherwise, if they really are going full, hog's head on this, like, I'm gonna be pissed. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. My shield at your backs, guys. My sword at your service. Good will and blessed be.